Hey guys, welcome back to episode 5 of the tuning guide series. So for the rest of the series this time I'm not gonna have my model on, I'm running out of time and I need to speed run it basically. But we'll be sure to give every piece of information possible. So sorry about the PNG model, I need to get this done and running the model really slows down a lot. Anyways, let's get into it. Today we are talking about suspension, specifically the springs and ride height. To tune the springs and ride height you need to have either a race or drift suspension. Here is our current settings. So firstly we're going to talk about ride height. There is a couple ways to tune this. One is just as low as possible like it is here. The other is based off your springs. The reason we're looking at the ride height is we need to make sure that our suspension is stiff enough that it doesn't bottom out. Because when you bottom out you lose a lot of speed, you damage the car, all that stuff. So we're sitting at 3.2 inches off the ground. That is fairly low, but it's not insanely low. So if we want to run this ride height we need to have a decently stiff suspension. If we was sitting at 5 inches or so we could run a really soft suspension. This is just something to keep in your mind while you're tuning the suspension. Onto the springs. The springs do multiple things. 1. It controls the stiffness of the suspension. 2. It controls your mid-corner balance. And 3. It decides what your damping settings need to be. Again, I don't do math or use formulas to figure this stuff out. There is that way of doing this. It's probably better, but I like to actually tune it to feel. So in motorsport you do not need a soft suspension like I prefer to run. A lot of people use really stiff suspensions, because a stiffer suspension has less body roll. Less body roll is typically easier to control, so I'll demonstrate how I like to tune these. So firstly I want to find the stiffness I want to run. Again, I leave the dampers alone for now. I focus on the spring, so I'm going to set my springs really low for demonstration. Now we test to see how it feels. So we can feel a lot of body roll, but it lets us go over bumps really easy, which is the only benefit to a soft suspension. Now that I know this is a little too soft, I'll turn it up by 100 pounds or so. So that feels good. It's not bottoming out on any of the bumps. And real quick for most cars, if you're worried about bottoming out, come down to ride height, take it all the way down, and bring it back up by 2 clicks. This is typically the best way to prevent 99% of bottoming out situations while not testing it for 3 hours on different tracks lol. But if your suspension is stiff enough then you don't need to have a taller ride height. The only thing you need to watch out for is going over bumps that are too high for your selected ride height. But 90% of tracks don't have bumps high enough to bother you, so now we need to set up the balance. Again, the springs control the mid-corner under/oversteer balance, so this may put off your selected stiffness. But reason I did it this way is cause I know the minimum stiffness I want to run. Now if I find I have too much oversteer I raise the front spring stiffness. If I have too much understeer I raise the rear spring stiffness. So I felt a little understeer in the mid-corner, so I'm going to stiffen the rear spring slightly and give it another try. Now for drifting it's the same thing, except typically you're going to tune in understeer. As for drifting we want smoothness while maintaining the oversteer we want, so something like this. Alright, that's gonna be it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications so that you don't miss any future episodes. And be sure to leave any questions in the comments section, and be sure to check the description for the link tree home of all our links such as Discord and Twitch that we use. See you guys in the next one.